These days, many seniors are told the same thing by their doctors: just keep walking, it will protect your heart. But what if that advice isn't the full story? In fact, more and more cardiac surgeons are warning that walking alone may not be enough, and for some people over 65, it can even put extra strain on joints, hips, and knees. Think about the last time you went for a walk and came home with sore legs, swollen ankles, or that tired, drained feeling that didn't go away. You're not alone. Millions of older adults across America struggle with circulation problems, stiff joints, or fatigue, and many of them believe walking is the only option they have left. The truth is, it doesn't have to be this way. There are 5 simple, safe, and effective exercises you can do right from the comfort of your own home. No gym memberships, no fancy machines, not even a pair of sneakers required. Each one is designed to boost circulation, protect your heart, and give you back energy and confidence. Stay with me, because what you learn in the next few minutes could completely change how your body feels tomorrow and keep you strong well into your 80s and beyond. Most people over 65 are told the same thing at every doctor's visit: keep walking. It's repeated so often that it almost becomes gospel. Doctors, nurses, friends, and even neighbors will tell you that if you just take a walk every day, you'll be fine. Walking, they say, is the ultimate medicine for the heart. And for some people, it really does help. But for many older adults, the simple act of walking can feel like climbing a mountain. Stiff knees, sore hips, swelling in the ankles, dizziness, or even the fear of falling can make each step feel like a battle. Instead of encouraging independence, this well-meaning advice sometimes leaves people feeling more frustrated and defeated. That's why it's so important to understand that walking is not the only way to get blood moving and keep your heart strong. In fact, there's a surprisingly simple exercise you can do without ever leaving your chair, and it has the power to improve circulation, reduce swelling, and ease the burden on your heart. It's called the chair-based foot pump, and though it may sound almost too easy, it's one of the most powerful tools you have for maintaining your health as you age. Think about the role your calves play in your body. Many cardiologists call the calf muscles the second heart. Every time you take a step, those muscles contract and push blood upward from your feet toward your heart. Without this constant pumping action, blood tends to pool in the lower legs, leading to swelling, cold feet, and in some cases even dangerous clots. When the calf muscles are weak or inactive, something that happens naturally as we spend more time sitting, your heart has to work twice as hard to keep blood circulating. That extra strain can leave you feeling tired, lightheaded, and worn out, even after just a short walk. The beauty of the chair-based foot pump is that it mimics this natural pumping action without putting any weight or stress on your knees, hips, or lower back. You simply sit tall in a sturdy chair, place your feet flat on the floor, and start with your heels. Lift them slowly while keeping your toes grounded. Hold for a moment, then lower your heels back down. Next, raise your toes while your heels stay planted, hold, and release. This gentle rocking motion wakes up the calves and sends blood moving upward, relieving the heart of that heavy workload. The movement is so small and so simple that many people dismiss it at first. They think, how could this possibly make a difference? But it does. Within minutes, you can feel warmth returning to your feet. Within days of practicing regularly, swelling begins to lessen. Over time, the heart feels less strained, energy levels rise, and even sleep improves. It's the kind of exercise that doesn't demand fancy equipment, special shoes, or a trip to the gym. You can do it while reading the morning paper, watching television, talking on the phone, or waiting in the doctor's office. It's an exercise that fits into your life without forcing your life to fit into it. One man who discovered the power of this small movement is Harold, a 78-year-old from Columbus, Ohio. Harold had always been a strong and independent man. He worked for decades in construction, raised a family, and was proud of his ability to take care of himself. But in his late 70s, he began to notice that even short walks left him lightheaded. His ankles swelled, his feet were cold, and he couldn't make it down the block without having to stop and catch his breath. Doctors kept telling him the same thing: you need to walk more. But Harold knew that walking more wasn't the solution, it was the problem. Every attempt to follow the advice left him exhausted and discouraged. One day, during a visit with a physical therapist, Harold learned about the chair-based foot pump. At first, he laughed. The exercise looked so small, almost silly, compared to the heavy lifting he had done all his life. But the therapist insisted he try it. So Harold went home, sat in his recliner while watching his favorite westerns, and began lifting his heels and toes 20 times every hour. The first few days, he didn't notice much. But by the end of the first week, he realized his socks weren't cutting into swollen ankles anymore. 2 weeks later, his feet felt warmer, his legs stronger, and he had more energy during the day. When he told his doctor, he said with a smile, "For the first time, I feel like I'm part of my own recovery." Harold's story is powerful because it shows that progress doesn't always mean doing more of what hurts. Sometimes it means doing less, but doing it smarter. The chair-based foot pump gave Harold back a sense of control. He no longer felt like a victim of his body or his age. Instead, he found a way to support his heart and his circulation without fear of falling or pain. For older adults everywhere, this simple discovery can mean the difference between giving up and moving forward with confidence. There's also an important mental shift that happens when you start this exercise. Many seniors here move more and immediately feel hopeless. They think, "I can't walk far anymore, so I must be failing." That mindset can lead to depression, isolation, and even a faster decline in health. The foot pump changes that. It reminds you that movement doesn't have to mean miles walked or hours spent in a gym. It can mean tiny, consistent actions that build strength, improve circulation, and protect the heart in ways that truly matter. Each time you lift your heels and toes, you're not just moving blood, you're sending yourself a message. I can still do something good for my body. I still have power. I still matter. Science backs this up. Studies show that exercises targeting the calf muscles significantly improve venous return, which is the flow of blood back to the heart. This reduces the risk of deep vein thrombosis, improves oxygen delivery to tissues, and helps regulate blood pressure. For someone living with limited mobility, these benefits can be life-saving. And because the movement is so low impact, it's safe to do multiple times a day without fear of overexertion. Another thing that makes the chair-based foot pump so effective is how easy it is to make it part of your daily routine. You don't need to carve out an hour or drive to a gym. You can tie it to habits you already have. Every time you sit down to watch a TV show, do a set during commercials. Each time you sit down for a meal, pump your feet before and after. When waiting in a doctor's office or sitting in church, you can do it without anyone even noticing. It's discreet, it's simple, and it's endlessly adaptable. Some people find it helpful to set a timer on their phone or watch, reminding them to pump their feet every hour. Others create a system of triggers. For example, one woman in Florida told me she makes herself do 20 pumps every time she takes a sip of water. By the end of the day, she's done hundreds without even thinking about it. These little tricks transform exercise from a chore into a natural part of everyday living. It's also worth noting how empowering this exercise can feel. As we age, so many things seem to be taken away. Driving, certain foods, certain freedoms. It's easy to feel like life is narrowing. The chair-based foot pump is the opposite of that. It's a reminder that no matter your limitations, you still have tools at your disposal. You can still choose to move blood through your veins, to ease the work of your heart, to bring warmth and vitality back into your body. That choice belongs to you, and it's available any time of day, anywhere you happen to be sitting. For those who suffer from cold feet at night, the foot pump can even improve sleep. By pumping before bed, circulation improves, warming the feet, and helping the body relax. Some people keep a small footrest by their chair to make the movement even more comfortable. Others prefer to do it barefoot, enjoying the natural flex of their toes and the subtle stretch through the arch of the foot. However you choose to do it, consistency is what counts. Let's return to Harold's story for a moment. Months after he began his foot pump routine, he was able to walk to his mailbox without dizziness. He could stand for longer periods without swelling, and he even joined his grandson for a short fishing trip. It wasn't a marathon, and it wasn't about proving anything to anyone else. It was about living his life with a little more freedom and a little less fear. And that's the gift the foot pump offers. Not perfection, but possibility. If you think about it, so much of life after 65 is about adaptation. The body changes, energy changes, balance shifts. The mistake many people make is trying to fight those changes with the same strategies they used decades earlier. Walking may have been perfect at 50, but at 75, it might not be realistic. That doesn't mean you give up. It means you adapt. The chair-based foot pump is the perfect symbol of adaptation. It takes the essence of walking, the calf pump, and reimagines it in a way that's gentle, safe, and accessible. When you start to see it this way, it becomes more than just exercise. It becomes a philosophy. It's about finding ways to keep moving, keep living, and keep thriving, even when the world tells you to slow down. It's about proving to yourself that you don't need to match anyone else's pace. All you need to do is keep blood flowing, keep your heart supported, and keep choosing life one small movement at a time. So the next time someone tells you walking is the only way to protect your heart, remember Harold. Remember the warmth that returned to his feet, the swelling that went down, the energy that came back. Remember that your calves are your second heart, and that you have the power to strengthen them even from the comfort of your chair. Pick a chair, sit tall, and start lifting those heels and toes. Do it for your heart. Do it for your independence. Do it for the life you still want to live. Because you're not done yet. Your body still matters, and every small movement is a step toward the future you deserve. For most of our lives, push-ups have been the symbol of strength. We saw athletes, soldiers, and gym-goers dropping to the floor to crank out sets of 20 or 30, sweating and straining. And for many of us, just the thought of a push-up now seems impossible. The wrists ache, the shoulders feel stiff, and the knees won't tolerate the pressure of getting down and back up from the floor. The traditional push-up belongs to a younger version of ourselves. Yet, hidden inside that familiar movement is a version that belongs to every age and every body. The wall push-up. It's a gentle but powerful way to strengthen the upper body, protect the heart, and bring vitality back without the strain and fear that floor exercises can cause. What makes wall push-ups so unique is how accessible they are. You don't need a gym mat, you don't need strong knees, and you don't even need to change into exercise clothes. All you need is a sturdy wall. You stand about 2 feet away, place your palms flat at shoulder height, and lean forward slowly, bending your elbows until your chest almost touches the wall. Then you push back until your arms are straight again. That's it. No equipment, no complex instructions. Just your body and a wall. Yet behind this simplicity lies a wealth of benefits that go far beyond muscles. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Each time you perform a wall push-up, you engage your chest, arms, shoulders, and core. These muscles aren't just for looking strong. They are directly tied to how well blood circulates through the upper body, how efficiently the lungs expand, and how much support your heart receives during everyday activities. For older adults, where poor posture and shallow breathing often creep in unnoticed, this exercise is like hitting a reset button. The chest opens, the breath deepens, and the mood lifts. With every controlled repetition, you are not only working your muscles but also teaching your body to breathe more freely and efficiently. Walking is wonderful for circulation in the legs, but it does little to strengthen the upper body. The wall push-up fills that gap. It activates areas that walking never touches. The chest muscles that support breathing, the arms that help us rise from chairs, the shoulders that stabilize us as we reach for objects. And it does all this without pounding the knees or hips. That's why cardiologists and physical therapists increasingly recommend it for people over 65. It protects the heart by engaging large muscle groups in a safe, low-impact way, all while improving oxygen flow and circulation in areas where tightness often builds with age. There's also something deeply emotional about wall push-ups. Many seniors carry an invisible weight on their chest, not just from poor posture but from years of worry, loss, and the gradual shrinking of life's possibilities. When you stand tall, press your hands against a wall, and push yourself back with strength you didn't think you had, you're lifting more than your body. You're lifting that weight of doubt. You're telling yourself, I still have power. My body still supports me. I am not done yet. Eleanor, an 82-year-old from Boise, Idaho, embodies this truth beautifully. For years, she avoided exercise altogether. She believed her body was too old, too fragile, too far gone. She had tried walking, but her hips and knees ached afterward. She tried a senior yoga class, but she felt out of place and discouraged when she couldn't keep up. She resigned herself to a quiet decline, convinced that her best days of strength were behind her. One morning, her daughter suggested something different: wall push-ups. At first, Eleanor laughed. push-ups? At my age. But her daughter showed her how simple it could be, just leaning into the wall and pressing back. With hesitation, Eleanor placed her hands on the wall of her kitchen and bent her elbows. She managed 5 slow repetitions before she had to stop. She felt shaky, but also surprised. She hadn't fallen, her joints didn't hurt, and her chest actually felt lighter. The next morning, she tried again. 5 wall push-ups before breakfast. By the end of the week, she noticed something unexpected. Her posture had improved. She was no longer slouching forward as she shuffled to the mailbox. Her breathing felt deeper, less shallow. She told her daughter, "I thought my body was too old, but it just needed permission." Those 5 small repetitions became her ritual. They gave her a sense of accomplishment and pride that no pill or doctor's lecture ever had. Months later, Eleanor was doing 15 wall push-ups every day. She said it wasn't just her arms that grew stronger, it was her confidence. Eleanor's story is a reminder that strength after 70 doesn't come from barbells or marathons. It comes from reclaiming small, simple movements and making them your own. The wall push-up doesn't demand sweat-drenched workouts or high-tech machines. It simply asks for consistency, patience, and the willingness to lean forward and discover the strength that was always inside you. From a medical perspective, wall push-ups also play a critical role in maintaining cardiovascular health. When large muscles contract rhythmically, they assist the heart in pumping blood more efficiently. Each push and release acts like a secondary pump for the circulatory system, especially in the chest and arms, where blood flow often stagnates with age. The exercise also strengthens the diaphragm and intercostal muscles, the ones between your ribs, that help with deep breathing. Stronger breathing muscles mean better oxygen delivery, less shortness of breath, and more endurance in everyday life. For seniors who experience tightness in the chest or shallow breathing from years of poor posture, wall push-ups can feel liberating. It's as if each repetition opens the rib cage a little wider, creating space for fresh air and renewed energy. People who practice them regularly often report that walking feels easier afterward, not because their legs changed, but because their breathing became more efficient. Beyond the physical and emotional benefits, wall push-ups carry a practical advantage. They prepare you for real-life tasks. Every time you push away from the wall, you're strengthening the same muscles you use to rise from a chair, lift a grocery bag, or open a heavy door. These are the movements that protect independence, the ones that allow you to keep living on your own terms. The exercise isn't just about fitness, it's about preserving dignity, confidence, and the ability to care for yourself. It's important to remember that wall push-ups can be tailored to your own needs. If standing 2 feet from the wall feels too easy, you can step farther back to increase the challenge. If it feels too hard, you can move closer. The angle adjusts the intensity, making it accessible for everyone from beginners to those already active. Some people place a towel on the wall for comfort, and others choose a sturdy door frame. The adaptability ensures that anyone, no matter their fitness level, can find a version that works. Over time, the results become undeniable. Arms feel steadier when carrying groceries. Shoulders ache less after household chores. Breathing feels more natural and less labored. And perhaps most importantly, the sense of helplessness that sometimes creeps in with age begins to fade. You start to feel capable again, not because you're competing with anyone else, but because you're honoring your own body. The transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens rep by rep, morning by morning, in kitchens and living rooms across the country. Eleanor isn't alone. Thousands of seniors have discovered the wall push-up as a gateway back to movement, strength, and self-respect. Some start with just 3 or 4 repetitions a day. Others find themselves building up to sets of 20 or more over time. What matters is not the number, but the choice to show up for yourself consistently. For anyone who has ever felt too old or too fragile to exercise, the wall push-up carries a simple but profound message. You are stronger than you think. Your body still can adapt, to grow, to heal. And even if your knees no longer allow long walks, even if your balance feels shaky, there is still a path forward. The wall is always there, steady and reliable, waiting to support you as you rediscover your own strength. So the next time you pass by a wall in your home, stop for a moment. Place your hands flat, stand tall, and lean forward. Feel your chest expand, your arms engage, and your breath deepen. Push back and remind yourself that strength doesn't belong only to the young. It belongs to anyone willing to try. Each push is a declaration. I am here, I am strong, I still matter. Eleanor's 5 wall push-ups each morning weren't just an exercise routine. They were a lifeline, a reminder that she could still claim her independence, still improve her health, still feel alive in her own skin. If she could do it at 82, so can you. All it takes is the willingness to place your hands on a wall and begin. For many older adults, the simple act of lifting a leg can feel like a forgotten ability. We take for granted how much our thighs, calves, and glutes carry us through the day until one morning the knees feel weaker, the ankles swell, or the steps we used to take without thought suddenly seem harder. Aging often brings with it a sense of being stuck, not just physically but emotionally, as if the body has quietly drawn a line and said, no more. That's why the seated leg lift is such a powerful exercise. It may look small from the outside, but it can awaken the biggest muscles in your lower body, improve circulation, and restore a sense of strength that many believe is lost forever. The seated leg lift requires almost nothing, a sturdy chair and a few minutes of your time. You sit tall, feet flat on the floor, and slowly raise one foot a few inches off the ground. Hold it there for a brief pause, then lower it back down and switch legs. That's all. There is no strain on the hips, no pounding on the knees, no fear of falling. Yet behind this tiny action lies a cascade of benefits. When your quads and glutes contract, they send blood surging upward toward your heart. They relieve the pooling that gravity causes when you sit too long. They warm the feet, reduce swelling in the ankles, and support the joints that carry you every time you stand. Doctors often remind us that circulation is life. Without good blood flow, the heart has to fight harder, the brain receives less oxygen, and fatigue becomes a constant companion. The seated leg lift is like giving your circulatory system a gentle nudge, reminding it to keep moving, to keep delivering what the body needs. And perhaps most importantly, it gives you back the experience of doing something for yourself, on your own terms. That sense of control is not a small thing. As we age, so much seems to slip from our hands. The ability to drive long distances, to climb stairs with ease, to carry heavy bags without thinking. Each loss chips away at confidence. The seated leg lift pushes back against that. Every time you raise a foot, you send a message to your brain. I still control my body. I can still move. I am not helpless. It's a movement of resistance, not against the wall like a push-up, but against the creeping voice of doubt that whispers you're too old to get stronger. Walter, a 79-year-old from Des Moines, Iowa, knows this feeling well. After his wife passed away, Walter found himself spending long hours alone in his recliner, watching television. At first, he told himself it was just a way to cope with grief. But months turned into years, and soon his legs began to betray him. They felt heavy, stiff, unresponsive. Trips to the mailbox left him winded. He noticed swelling around his ankles and dreaded standing for too long. I felt stuck, he said. Like my body was trapping me in that chair. One afternoon during a routine checkup, his doctor asked about his activity level. Walter admitted he rarely walked anymore. Instead of scolding him, the doctor suggested something surprising. Seated leg lifts. Walter rolled his eyes. You mean just lifting my leg in the air? That can't possibly help. But he agreed to try. That evening, during a commercial break, he sat up straight, lifted one leg for a few seconds, lowered it, then switched sides. It felt awkward, even a little silly. But he did 10 on each leg. The next day, he tried again. Slowly, he built a routine. By the end of the first week, Walter noticed something subtle but undeniable. His feet were warmer. The swelling had eased just enough that his shoes felt more comfortable. By the second week, standing up from the recliner didn't feel like such a battle. He realized that his legs, though still weak, were responding. They weren't gone. They were waiting to be woken up. After a month, Walter told his daughter, I don't feel stuck anymore. I feel alive again. Stories like Walter's highlight a truth that often gets lost. Progress doesn't always mean dramatic transformations. It doesn't have to mean running marathons or lifting heavy weights. Sometimes it means raising a foot a few inches off the floor and holding it long enough to remind your body that it still belongs to you. That's wisdom in motion. Small, consistent acts that accumulate into real strength and freedom. The physical benefits of seated leg lifts are clear. They strengthen the quadriceps, which are essential for rising from a chair, climbing stairs, and protecting the knees. They activate the glutes, which stabilize the hips and lower back. They engage the calves, which, like the foot pumps, act as a second heart to support circulation. Together, these muscles form the foundation of mobility and independence. Without them, everyday life shrinks. With them, life expands. But there's another layer of benefit that can't be measured on a medical chart: the psychological impact. Many seniors carry an unspoken fear that they are on an inevitable path of decline, where every year means less capability. The seated leg lift interrupts that story. Each lift is a reminder that improvement is still possible, that the body can still respond, that tomorrow doesn't have to be worse than today. That shift in mindset, from resignation to possibility, can change everything. Research supports this, too. Studies on older adults who incorporate simple resistance exercises, even while seated, show improvements in balance, reduced risk of falls, lower resting heart rates, and better overall stamina. The key is consistency, not intensity. A few minutes each day can produce measurable changes over time. For those who struggle with chronic conditions like arthritis or diabetes, these small movements improve not just physical function but quality of life. Practicality makes the seated leg lift even more powerful. You don't have to schedule time or rearrange your day. You can do them while reading, knitting, or watching the evening news. Some people set a goal to do 10 lifts every commercial break. Others tie it to daily habits, like lifting each leg 10 times before every meal. The more you connect the movement to routines you already have, the easier it becomes to keep going. For those who want to challenge themselves, variations exist. You can hold each lift a little longer, point your toes forward, or even add a light ankle weight if your doctor approves. For beginners, simply lifting the foot a few inches is enough. The flexibility ensures that no matter your fitness level, you can tailor the exercise to your comfort and gradually build strength without fear. One of the most encouraging things about seated leg lifts is how quickly they give feedback. Within minutes, you can feel blood rushing through your legs. Within days, you notice reduced stiffness when standing. Within weeks, walking feels easier. These small wins build motivation, making it more likely you'll keep going. And with each victory, no matter how small, you reclaim another piece of independence. Walter's transformation continued beyond that first month. 6 months into his routine, he no longer dreaded walking to the mailbox. He could carry groceries without stopping to catch his breath. He even joined a small seniors exercise group at his church, something he never would have considered before. "I'm not who I was at 50, he said, "but I'm not helpless either. These legs still have life in them." His story became an inspiration for his neighbors, who saw firsthand how a man who once looked stuck in his recliner was now moving with more freedom and joy. For every Walter, thousands of others could benefit from the same discovery. The seated leg lift is not glamorous. It won't make headlines in fitness magazines or earn applause at the gym. But for the 70-year-old widow who wants to keep tending her garden, for the 85-year-old grandfather who wants to play with his great-grandchildren, for the senior who wants to live alone without fear of falling, it is nothing short of transformative. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. So, if you've been telling yourself that exercise is no longer possible, let this be your reminder. Sit tall in your chair, plant your feet firmly, and lift one leg at a time. Do it slowly, do it gently, but do it consistently. Feel the muscles wake up, feel the blood flow, feel the confidence return. It may not look like much, but in those small lifts lies the promise of independence, vitality, and dignity. The seated leg lift is more than just an exercise. It's a declaration. A declaration that you are not stuck, that your body still matters, that you still have control. Just like Walter discovered, you may find that what feels like the smallest movement can spark the biggest change. And when that happens, you'll know deep down that your best chapters are still ahead, waiting for you to claim them, one gentle lift at a time. Strength is often pictured as big muscles, biceps flexing, legs powering up a hill, or broad shoulders carrying heavy loads. But hidden in plain sight, in the palms of your hands, lies one of the strongest predictors of health and longevity: grip strength. doctors and researchers across the country have discovered something remarkable. Your grip doesn't just measure how tightly you can hold on to a jar or a walking cane. It reflects the health of your heart, your nervous system, and even your independence. That's why the humble act of squeezing, yes, simply squeezing, can be life-changing. Hand grip squeezes may look small, but they do something profound. Every time you squeeze and release, you stimulate tiny arteries in your hands and forearms. That activity ripples upward, lowering blood pressure, improving circulation, and sending signals to your nervous system that keep the connection between brain and body strong. Cardiologists now often recommend hand grip training as one of the simplest tools for seniors to improve heart health, especially for those who can't engage in heavy or high-impact exercise. The best part is how easy it is to begin. All you need is a small object that fits comfortably in your palm. Some use a soft foam ball, others a stress ball, and some choose hand grip exercisers you can find in most sporting goods stores. You don't need weights, machines, or special shoes. You can practice while watching television, talking on the phone, or even sitting by the window watching the world go by. It's an exercise that slips into your life without fanfare, but with lasting benefits. The science behind it is simple but powerful. When you squeeze, you're contracting muscles in your hands and forearms that are connected to a network of blood vessels. This resistance activates the endothelium, the inner lining of your blood vessels, improving how they expand and contract. Over time, this lowers systolic blood pressure, the number most doctors pay close attention to because it predicts risk for stroke and heart disease. One Canadian study found that just 4 minutes of daily grip training could reduce blood pressure as effectively as certain medications. Imagine that, 4 minutes a day, no side effects, no prescription needed, just a ball in your hand. But the benefits go beyond numbers on a blood pressure monitor. Grip strength is tied to balance, coordination, and confidence. When grip fades, so does independence. Think of how often you rely on your hands, holding a railing, carrying groceries, opening jars, buttoning a shirt. Strong hands keep you engaged with life. Weak hands quietly take things away, forcing you to ask for help more often than you'd like. By training your grip, you don't just strengthen your hands. You protect your ability to live life on your own terms. Ruth, an 80-year-old from Charleston, South Carolina, discovered this truth in a way that surprised her. 4 years, Ruth felt drained by mid-afternoon. She had plenty of sleep, ate reasonably well, and even tried short walks, but the fatigue clung to her. Her doctor mentioned her blood pressure was creeping higher and suggested she try a simple grip exercise. Ruth laughed at first. "You mean just squeezing something? That sounds like child's play." But she decided to give it a try. She bought a small yellow stress ball at a pharmacy and began squeezing it 3 times when she sat down, 3 times when she stood up, and 3 times before meals. It was hardly a workout, just a few seconds here and there. Yet within a week, Ruth noticed something. She wasn't as tired in the afternoons. Her hands felt steadier, her heart calmer. She described it as if her body had been given a little spark of energy that carried her through the day. At her next checkup, her blood pressure numbers had improved. Her doctor smiled and told her, "That little ball may be doing more for you than you realize." Ruth's story is proof that sometimes the smallest efforts create the biggest results. She didn't need to overhaul her lifestyle or push herself into exhausting routines. She simply introduced a gentle habit into her daily rhythm, and it quietly reshaped her health and confidence. Every squeeze reminded her that she still had strength left to give. The emotional impact of grip exercises is often underestimated. For many seniors, there's an invisible fear of becoming irrelevant, of no longer being able to contribute or manage daily life. Weakening hands can feel like a cruel metaphor for fading independence. Slipping objects, dropping plates, struggling with zippers. Each failure chips away at dignity. Grip training restores that dignity. Every squeeze is a victory, a reminder that the hands that once held babies, built careers, cooked meals, and cared for families still carry strength and purpose. It also creates a sense of calm. The act of squeezing and releasing mirrors breathing, tension building, and then letting go. It's meditative in a way, easing stress while strengthening the body. Some people find it helps with anxiety or restless thoughts. Holding a softball in your hand and focusing on the rhythm of squeeze and release can ground you, giving both body and mind a reset. What makes grip exercises especially powerful is how inclusive they are. You don't need to stand, you don't need balance, you don't even need much space. For those recovering from surgery, dealing with arthritis, or simply not feeling steady on their feet, it's one of the safest forms of exercise. It meets you exactly where you are. And because it's so simple, it removes the excuses that often hold people back. Too tired? Do a few squeezes while resting. Too busy? Do them during a phone call. Too frail? Start with just one squeeze and build from there. Some seniors find it motivating to track their progress. One man in Arizona keeps a small journal where he writes the number of squeezes he does each day. At first, it was 5 per hand. Now, months later, he does 30 in the morning and 30 at night. He says it makes him feel like he's competing with himself in the best way. No pressure, just steady growth. Others tie it to habits, like doing a set before reading the newspaper or while waiting for the kettle to boil. These rituals transform exercise from a chore into a companion to daily life. Grip strength has even been linked to longer life. Researchers consistently find that older adults with stronger grips live longer, healthier lives than those with weaker grips, regardless of other factors. It's not just about hands. It's a reflection of overall neuromuscular health, the body's ability to communicate and coordinate. By improving grip, you're sending a signal to your entire system. Stay connected, stay strong, stay alive. Of course, like all exercises, it's important to do it safely. Start slowly. Don't squeeze so hard that you cause pain or strain. Aim for gentle, controlled contractions. Over time, as your hands grow stronger, you can increase the number of repetitions or the firmness of the ball you use. Listen to your body and make it a practice that feels sustainable. Imagine the ripple effects. Better circulation in the hands and arms means warmer fingers in the winter. Lower blood pressure means reduced risk of heart attack or stroke. A stronger grip means you open jars with ease, carry laundry without fear, and maintain balance by holding rails firmly. Add to that the confidence of knowing you can still create change in your body, even in your 70s, 80s, or beyond, and it becomes clear why this simple practice holds so much power. Ruth often shares her story with friends now. At church gatherings, she'll pull her little yellow ball from her purse and encourage others to try. She calls it her heart helper. What started as a tiny habit became her testimony that health is still within reach, no matter the number of candles on the cake. She says, "Every squeeze is like telling myself, you're still strong, you're still here, and your body still works for you." Her joy is contagious. Others have followed her lead, and now a handful of her neighbors keep their own stress balls by their chairs. They compare notes, laugh about who did more that day, and celebrate the fact that they are taking charge of their health together. It's become not just an exercise, but a community of encouragement, proof that sometimes the simplest practices bring people together. So, if you've ever felt your hands weakening or your confidence slipping, remember this. The strength you need is right there in your palms. Pick up a ball, squeeze gently, and let each repetition remind you of your resilience. You don't need a gym, you don't need hours of free time, and you don't need to be young. You just need the willingness to hold on to your health, your independence, and your future. The seated hand grip squeeze is more than an exercise. It's a declaration, just like Ruth discovered. A declaration that you still have strength to offer, that your body is not done, and that your life still holds vitality waiting to be claimed. Every squeeze is a small victory, but together those victories add up. They create a rhythm of renewal, a heartbeat in your hands that echoes through the rest of your body. So, squeeze for hearts. Squeeze for your dignity. Squeeze for the years still ahead of you. Because you are still here, and you still matter. Aging often reveals itself in the legs long before anywhere else. We notice it in the way stairs leave us winded, how standing for too long makes the calves ache, or how the knees tremble as if carrying an invisible burden. Hours spent sitting, whether in a favorite recliner, at the kitchen table, or waiting in a doctor's office, can leave the legs heavy, swollen, and stiff. This isn't just discomfort, it's circulation slowing down, veins under pressure, and the heart working harder than it should. For seniors, especially, the lower body becomes both the foundation of independence and one of the greatest sources of frustration. That is why the seated straight leg hold is such a valuable discovery. It's an exercise so modest in appearance that it almost seems inconsequential, Yet its impact on circulation, strength, and confidence can be transformative. The movement is as simple as it sounds. You sit tall in a sturdy chair, feet flat on the floor. Then you lift one leg straight out in front of you, hold it for a few seconds, and slowly lower it back down. Then you switch legs and repeat. No machines, no gyms, no complicated instructions. Just you and your chair. But in that pause, when the leg is suspended in the air, the muscles awaken. The quadriceps engage, the hip flexors activate, the calves tighten, and blood is pushed back upward toward the heart. The veins, which so often struggle under the pressure of pooling blood, get relief. The heart receives support. Over time, this small act reduces swelling, eases venous pressure, and strengthens the very muscles that allow us to climb stairs, rise from chairs, and walk without fear. What makes seated straight leg hold so powerful isn't just the physical benefit, it's the symbolism. When you hold a leg steady in midair, you're holding more than muscle. You're holding control. You're telling yourself, I still have strength. I can still support myself. In a world that often tells seniors they are fragile, this exercise becomes a rebellion, a way to prove to yourself that ability remains. Frank, a 78-year-old from Tucson, Arizona, experienced this firsthand. Years earlier, Frank suffered a mild stroke. Though he was fortunate to recover much of his speech and mobility, the aftermath left him hesitant. His legs felt weaker, and his confidence was shaken. Walking to the mailbox became an ordeal. Stairs looked like mountains. He told his daughter, "What's the point? My legs are done. I feel useless." That sense of defeat began to spill into every corner of his life. He avoided outings, skipped social gatherings, and spent most of his days sunk into his recliner. During a rehabilitation session, his therapist introduced him to seated straight leg holds. At first, Frank scoffed. Lifting a leg while sitting down hardly seemed like exercise. But he tried, raising his right leg until it trembled. He held it for 2 seconds before lowering it. Then he did the left. It wasn't much, but it was something. The therapist encouraged him to practice at home, just a few repetitions a day. Frank began doing them during his morning coffee, lifting each leg for as long as he could. At first, it was shaky. His thighs burned, his knees felt unsteady. But little by little, the holds grew steadier. After 2 weeks, he noticed his ankles weren't swelling as badly. After a month, he could climb the stairs to his porch without gripping the railing in fear. The day he carried a bag of groceries from his car without stopping, he said it felt like winning a marathon. "I'm doing something again," he told his daughter. And with those words, a spark returned to his eyes. Frank's story is a reminder that resilience doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers through small victories. Lifting a leg, holding it steady, discovering that the body can still respond. For seniors who feel trapped by immobility, this exercise is a doorway back to freedom. From a medical perspective, seated straight leg holds address one of the most pressing challenges of aging: venous insufficiency. When we sit for long periods, blood pools in the legs, increasing the risk of swelling, varicose veins, and even dangerous clots. The heart must work harder to pull that blood back upward. By contracting the quadriceps and calves during a leg hold, you create a pump effect that assists circulation. The pause strengthens endurance, while the release resets blood flow. Over time, this simple habit can reduce the strain on the cardiovascular system, improve stamina, and lower the risk of complications. But beyond circulation, the leg hold strengthens independence. Strong quadriceps are essential for everyday life. They help you rise from a chair without relying on your arms, climb stairs with stability, and walk longer distances without fatigue. Weak quads, by contrast, are one of the leading causes of falls in seniors. By practicing leg holds daily, you protect not just your health but your dignity, the ability to move through your home, your community, and your life without fear of collapse. Psychologically, the exercise also works wonders. Many seniors wrestle with the feeling that their world is shrinking. They see others moving faster, doing more, while they retreat into caution and stillness. The leg hold challenges that narrative. Each time you raise your leg, even for a few seconds, you remind yourself that growth is still possible. Progress is still possible. The future can still hold improvements rather than decline. That shift in mindset can reignite motivation, giving seniors hope where resignation once lived. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. The practicality of seated leg holds makes them especially powerful. You don't need special clothing or large blocks of time. You can do them while reading a book, watching television, or waiting for a pot of water to boil. Some seniors keep a small notebook by their chair, jotting down how many seconds they held each leg. Others make a game of it, trying to add 1 second to their hold each day. Over time, those tiny increments add up to remarkable gains. For those who want to increase difficulty, variations are simple. You can flex your toes toward you while holding the leg straight, which engages the calves more intensely. You can add a small ankle weight once you've built confidence. You can even hold both legs out at the same time for a core strengthening challenge. But the foundation remains the same. Lift, hold, and breathe. The emotional payoff can be extraordinary. One 81-year-old widow in Florida told me she felt 10 years younger after 3 months of daily leg holds. She no longer dreaded climbing the church steps, and she even joined her granddaughter for a weekend trip to the zoo. She said, "It wasn't the animals that amazed me, it was realizing I could walk the whole park without needing a bench every 5 minutes." These are the victories that matter most, not trophies or medals, but the ability to fully live moments of joy. The exercise also carries a symbolic resonance. Legs represent freedom, the freedom to move, to explore, to participate in life. When mobility falters, that freedom feels stolen. The seated straight leg hold is a way of reclaiming it. Each hold is like planting a flag, declaring that your legs still serve you, that you're not ready to surrender your independence. Frank eventually built his holds to 15 seconds each. His thighs no longer trembled after just a few moments. Stairs that once looked impossible became manageable. But more than the physical strength, it was his spirit that changed. He smiled more. He accepted invitations again. He said, "It's not about what I can't do anymore, it's about what I still can." That shift carried him into new seasons of life with dignity and hope. For every Frank, countless others could benefit from this simple practice. The tragedy is that many never try, convinced it's too small to matter. But as countless seniors have discovered, small things done consistently create the greatest changes. A few seconds of effort, repeated daily, can reshape health, restore confidence, and reopen doors that once seemed closed. So the next time you find yourself sitting in a chair, pause for a moment. Straighten your back, plant your feet, and lift one leg. Hold it steady, breathe through the effort, and then lower it down gently. Switch sides and repeat. Let each repetition remind you that your legs are not finished, that your body still responds, that your future still holds possibilities. Because in those few seconds of suspension, when the leg hovers between rest and effort, you are not just holding a pose. You are holding on to your independence, your vitality, your dignity. You are proving to yourself and the world that you are still here and you still matter. Frank's triumph after his stroke wasn't in running marathons or climbing mountains. It was in holding his legs steady long enough to reclaim confidence. And in that act, he found not just strength but purpose. That is the gift of seated straight leg holds. The reminder that resilience lives in small movements, repeated faithfully, that carry us back into life one step, one hold, one moment at a time. There's something deeply moving about realizing that strength doesn't disappear just because the years have passed. It shifts, it changes shape, but it never leaves us completely. Every time you lift a leg, press into a wall, pump your feet, squeeze your hands, or hold your body steady in a chair, you're not just exercising. You're proving to yourself that you still have power. You're reminding your heart, your muscles, and even your mind that you are still here, and you still matter. Too often, the world tells older adults to slow down, to step aside, to accept decline as inevitable. But the truth is, your body still responds to care. It still craves movement, circulation, and purpose. Even the smallest effort can spark a ripple that touches every part of your life. That's the gift of these simple exercises. They don't demand perfection, just willingness. And that willingness opens the door to confidence, energy, and the joy of independence. So if you're sitting there wondering whether to try, let this be your invitation. Start with just one movement, one small action. Let it be the spark that reminds you your story isn't finished yet. And if this message speaks to you, I'd love for you to share it. Hit the like button, leave a comment about which exercise you'll start with, and subscribe so we can keep encouraging one another. Share this video with a friend or loved one, because sometimes the right word, or the right exercise, arrives at the perfect moment. Together, we can build a community where age is not a limit, but a celebration of wisdom, resilience, and the strength still within us.